What's up, guys? No shower for me yet today.
How's it going?
Oh my God. I've been on the Zooms since like 8 o'clock this morning. So no shower yet for me. What's up? How's everybody doing? What's up, Kevin? How you doing? Alex, how's it going? Thanks for showing up. What is nobody else in the office today? No mask, Alex?
Yeah, if there's anyone else in the office, I'll wear the mask. If no one's in, I'll just leave it off.
Awesome. Where are you, Joe? No masking. Can you hear us?
I'm at a coffee shop that is very socially distanced.
Gotcha. Awesome. I'm one shot down, guys. March 17th, shot number 2 for me. So whoop whoop. Yeah. Awesome stuff. How's everybody doing? I am insanely busy these days. And so I am not prepared very well today. Does anybody have anything? Hey, Kathy, how's it going? Love your background. I'd like to be there right now. Awesome stuff. Anybody have anything they need help with this week? Just kick it off. I didn't do a very good job about reminding everybody to join us today, so it might be short and sweet. Anybody working on anything that they need help with? Anybody have if you could get the answer to something, I'll tell you like some of the stuff that I am thinking like that I'm interested in right now, which is there's this infinite banking thing. We're going to get somebody on the podcast for that. Does any of you guys do that? Where you use like insurance policies or something to help with your cash reserves? Does anybody do anything like that? Hi, Amy. Sorry. Here's our meeting group. I haven't taken a shower today. That's what I'm telling everybody. Oops, let me fix myself. I haven't even taken a shower today. I'm so busy. So this is like family when you join us here on a Thursday, right? You guys get to do whatever you want. Oh, look who's with us. Adrian is about to join us here. Dion, what's up? Hey, Adrian from Florida. What's going on, brother?
Hello. Finally
Hello,
getting to join you guys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Special guest today with Adrian out in Florida. What are some topics that you guys are interested in lately that you've like, I wish I knew more about this topic? Is there anything that you guys, one thing that's interesting me is this infinite banking thing that Justin and Albert Bowie and I were talking about on our recent podcast. That's something where you're using insurance policies and all that stuff. Does anybody here do that? You do that, Adrian?
No, but I'm just learning about it.
Anybody else?
This is Kathy. No, I'm just learning about it. And I was in another group that this fellow named Jason Henderson is involved with that. And he suggested this book that will change everything for you. It's called Becoming Your Own Banker. Have you heard of that?
I don't know. Drop it in the chat. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Drop it in the chat and everybody can grab it down there. Yeah, so we're going to get somebody on our podcast to talk about this infinite banking, which I guess is a way, something to do with your cash reserves and stuff like that. I don't know enough about it, but it's something that I'm interested in. Dion, do you know anything about it? Nothing? Okay, well, we'll hook you guys up on that. We just recorded, just because he's here, I want to say we just recorded a podcast a couple days ago with Dion here, Dion McNeely. And this is not a real estate podcast that we did. It's more of a community help podcast. And what it's about is a hidden job market where if you know anybody that needs a job, friends, family, neighbors, or your tenants, or anybody that needs a job, right? Dion here has access to a hidden job market. Before we kick it off, let's do a little feel good thing and tell everybody about it, Dion. And we're gonna be moving it up in our podcast lineup because I think it's such an important thing to get the word out. We're literally telling people hey, this is a resource for you to go get a job. And there's like nobody applying for these jobs. Go ahead, Dion. Kick it
So the way that I like to tie it into real estate is a lot of investors have tenants that might not be working. So it's a way to find someone a job. These are jobs all over the country that no one's applying for. If you're an investor, sometimes getting a better job or getting a job so you can show consistent W-2 income makes it a lot easier to qualify for the next loan. So that's really why I thought it fit with this community, because I mean, yeah, the goal is invest so work becomes completely optional. But if there's an entire industry that has nobody applying for jobs, that's why I think the episode will be really good and it can help out a lot of people.
Right. Well, tell us a little bit more. I mean, you're here. Tell us
Okay. All right.
what it is a little
That was
bit.
a teaser to get everybody to go watch the other episode.
Oh,
So in just Washington state, there's a little over 6,000 registered transportation companies. I run a truck driving school, and so the school helps people find driving jobs. But all of these companies have HR, IT, operations, logistics, forklift, web design. I mean, every position you can imagine, and nobody's applying for those positions because when we think of a trucking company, all of us picture a driver. We forget about the office and the warehouse. And what the companies are doing, because they're so short on drivers, is they're taking their current staff and sending them to schools like ours. So we train them to become a truck driver and they get promoted. So our nonprofit helps find people to replace those positions when the person becomes a truck driver. And it's free. It's a 501c3, so we don't charge a penny. We don't charge the employers. What we get out of it is it helps us build relationships with local trucking companies so our graduates don't have to go drive over the road. So I've tied it really into real estate because, I mean, I don't know hardly anybody that couldn't benefit from knowing about jobs you can refer someone to. So if you're not looking for work, we all know somebody that could have a better job, especially the people that got laid off in the service industry last year. Transportation became more important with the pandemic because more things were being delivered. So,
but the point is, they're not truck driving jobs necessarily, right?
correct. That's the hardest part for me to get across is we have a branding issue. It's a truck driving school. I work in transportation. So even when I say I'm not talking about driving jobs, everyone's brain still thinks I am. I'm literally talking about all the people in the office and the warehouse that makes it possible for the truck to even be on the road. And so we've taken people coming out of the military, placed them into CEO positions. We placed the terminal manager for the Coke plant right here in Tacoma. We've placed dispatchers, we've placed counselors with DSHS because they've actually got mobile trucks that bring the benefits to people who can't make it to the office. We've placed nurses with UPS. I haven't found a job that doesn't exist in transportation yet.
Exactly. And you're talking about across the US. I mean, a lot of us here are in the Pacific Northwest, but we have some people joining us from New Jersey, from Florida, right here today on the meetup with us. And so, like you said, these jobs are across the US because they have what? Trucking spots and, like Pepsi, for example, you mentioned.
Yeah, a lot of the trucking companies that we work with are nationwide. They work out of hubs or terminals that are about every 30 miles, all the way from Seattle to Florida. Redaway's got Kent, Tacoma, Tumwater, all the way down to Florida. So it's not like you have to be close to us here in Washington. They can just reach out with an email.
Right. So if you guys are going to be on pins and needles waiting for this podcast where he goes even further, deep dive into it, tells you how to access these jobs. There's like a code word to let them know when you call Dion's nonprofit that basically tells the people on the other side of the phone that you're not looking for a trucking job. You're looking for some sort of office or some sort of, different type of job than actually a driver. Best way to do that is, of course, just head over to like our YouTube channel and hit the notification so you get pinged when that happens. And of course, we'll blast it out everywhere. But it was a feel-good podcast that we did this week. So anything else, if you guys know of anybody else that has something that somebody wants to get the word out on, stuff like that, I don't know. This was about jobs. If you know anybody else of jobs or anything that we have a large audience and a platform to get the word out. So if you know of anybody that needs help getting the word out about something that's going to just help people these days, please let me know, and we will have them on our podcast and blast it out to, across the country here. So good stuff. All right. We have more people joining us here. For those of you that haven't met me yet, I'm Julie Clark. I'm the founder, along with my partner, Joe Bauer here, of Seattle Investors Club. And this is our weekly roundtable meetup. It's just an open discussion with property managers and brokers and wholesalers and investors, general contractors, lenders, conventional lenders, private money lenders, hard money lenders, you name it, anything that touches real estate, this is what we're at. And we're here to help each other, share tips, tricks, strategies, and solve people's problems or help them down the path with a kind of a collective genius type of situation here. So I like to kick it off by saying, and then I'll maybe introduce you guys to some more people that are here that have some good stories. Is there anybody here that needs help with anything? You're working on a transaction or you don't know what to do about this or that, whether it's a transaction or lead generation or creative real estate financing or property management, you name it. We have everybody here that can help us with that. Anybody? Nope.
So just get back to me.
Okay. Trying to jump on. I don't know who's talking there. Okay. Well, then I'm just going to pick on some people to introduce them. I want to introduce you to our new friend, Adrian Smoot here, who's got this lime yellow shirt on. Hey, brother, what's happening?
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for joining us. Adrian, we just did a podcast with him, and what he specializes in is mobile home investing. And then maybe if you're not a mobile home investor, or maybe you want to be a mobile home investor, Adrian, that's what he does. His company's called, what is it? Let's see it. My Wife Buys.
My wife buys mobile homes.
Yeah. But what's super fun and cool about Adrian, you guys are going to all get to listen to his podcast with us pretty soon. But I want you to tell us, I think it's awesome how you vet your tenants. I don't actually see why people can't do this anywhere. It doesn't have to be a mobile home. It can be anywhere that people do this. Tell us your strategy on vetting your potential tenants when you have a rental available. Some of you guys might find this pretty interesting.
So the process of our application starts well before we actually get the paper. We put out our marketing, we put the bandit signs out, we put Facebook marketing out, and we still do Craigslist. Everything directs people straight to the home. They have to drive by the home. Everything's automated from an automatic email back from Craigslist. The Facebook, we use a business page, so it automatically replies there. And then the signs, we have a voicemail set up that they get a voice. When they call in, they get the voicemail. It says, we do not check this, drive to the property. And at the property, we have a sign there that says, see the window. That means they have to get out of their car, walk around it, and see the place. And in the window, that's the only place that has the phone number that we actually answer. So when they call in, we know that they have seen the property. And this is not the easiest steps for someone to get through. So a lot of people disqualify themselves if they need to move tomorrow. And those we found are usually pretty desperate people and are not people that are going to stay a long time. But once they call there, we do a not virtual showing. We do a self show. We do have them send us their ID, a picture of that. We let them in the property with the lockbox code, and we use Simply Safe. It's a security system. We mainly use it so we can actually see that they left. We have recently had a little bit of an issue of some people leaving the door unlocked. It wasn't on purpose. So we're still solving that, but we can see if someone came back in the home because we see the Simply Safe, if the alarm goes off or if it's armed. And we don't usually have to drive over there, but that's always the backup plan. And once they've seen the place, they fill out an application, then I call them. And something very interesting has happened this week, where usually by that point, I call them, I tell them all of our qualifications, which they've already seen in the ads. They've read it in the property, but I still go over it again. I'm going to do your background check. I'm going to check for evictions. We're going to call your landlord. And most of the time, people, if they have an eviction, they don't apply and waste their money. We've had 3 people apply with recent evictions or currently being evicted. And one of them actually has not paid since COVID started, and she's had a job the entire time. So if you're not calling and actually checking on your applications, you need to. It's crazy to me that they even spent their money on the app fee. So obviously they're going to be getting declined. We usually don't get that because why would they waste their money? So then we run the app, and at that point we will meet them to go through the property. I don't like to let someone move in without meeting them in person. It's just my personal preference. We are going to start doing the lease signings over Zoom. I'm going to do that to record it. Something I'm going to try out new, so then I have documents that we actually went over everything. And using COVID as the excuse of using Zoom, we're going to experiment with that. We're going to go over the lease that way, but not sign it online. We're going to sign it in person because, like I said, I want to still meet the person, walk the property with them before I let them sign anything or I take any money from them. Because that's the last part of the screening process is in person. You know, that's, you can still say no to them once you meet up with them if there's something wrong that comes up right then.
I love the avoiding the tire kicker thing or all these unnecessarily responses by forcing them to get the instructions on how to take the next step about leasing by making them go to the property to find the information. That is, it's pretty funny. But beyond that, there's other stuff that you do. And I'm sharing your podcast. There's only 25 of us here today. So there's going to be plenty of hundreds of people that'll see it otherwise. But the other thing that you do is you try to you sort of test them on their I don't know how to say it properly here, but like if they're not going to be a pain in the butt by not turning your places into a perfect turn. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so our niche, and this is what we're comfortable with, is we love the blue collar worker. That's the type of, so we buy properties that are going to attract that person. So this one behind me, we actually do own this. We did some work to it. Obviously you had to, but it's on a 1/4 acre. And that is our ideal tenant. They want a 1/4 acre. So we buy properties that are going to attract our ideal tenant. But we make them safe and we'll say livable, but we do not make them pretty. We don't paint. I like them when they're a little ugly, because then people ask, are you going to paint for me? And we say no. And that, again, deters the person, in my opinion, that wants everything done for them. And if they ask me, can I paint? Meaning, can they paint themselves? I like that. That's a good question to ask me, because that means they're handy, they're willing to do some work, and we're very comfortable with people doing work. Obviously, I don't want them doing electric work if they're not an electrician, but within reason. If they are in the trades, whatever their trade is, I'm very happy when they do it. So that's another reason we make them livable and attractive to our ideal tenant. So whatever that ideal tenant to you is, I think that's an excellent way to deter the people that you don't want. If you don't want people working on your property, don't leave it unfinished. So it could work in every type of
I never hear anybody talk
marketing.
about that, right? We're so used to people, making everything look as rent ready as possible. We're not talking slumlord stuff, guys. We're not talking unsafe, gross conditions. We're talking about, it's something nobody ever talks about. It's an interesting way to think about how to vet your tenants. I don't know, Troy, would that work for you?
Hey, Adrian, are you selling on contract or are you just renting the units?
We'll do both. It depends on the property itself, but that really doesn't change how we finish the property. So we have one available right now that I was just talking about. We do have some very minor things that we're going to require the tenant to do that are work.
Sure.
It's not much, but we will do some land contract, rent to own, lease option, however you want to word it in your area.
Yeah.
On some of our properties.
But you take care of like any subfloor damage, any plumbing damage. Yeah, so you make it livable. That's the debate that we were having last week, was whether you actually make it livable before you move someone in.
I was bragging about you last week, Adrian, before you even showed up.
Oh, awesome. That's most of the time. I will say we have a property. It's a in the park property that we're paying lot rent on. I did not want to make it livable. Just I was done putting money into it. So we are selling that to someone on payments, and we have an agreement between him and I that he's not allowed to move in until it's in a livable condition. So, if it's not livable and, he's a handyman, he works for someone already doing that stuff, so he can do it on his labor. So it's a win-win situation. We let him move in, I think, for $800.
Yeah,
for nothing.
That's what we do in our parks too. Yeah, we've got the rent to own that are finished and move inable, and then we've got the handyman specials where you have to do, before you move in, you have to do the repairs, and we have to approve the repairs before you.
I love it.
So on the ones that you rent, if they say, okay, we want to paint or, something to make it look nicer, do you pay for materials, or is that something that they're responsible for?
Negotiable. I don't want to pay for materials if I don't have to. But a lot of that is, if I really like the person, I will go out of my way and do a little bit more. And I like the person. I mean, I think that they're going to stay there forever and actually make the repairs and do the stuff the correct way. I am more likely to pay for it. I can't think of, maybe once or twice ever, people ask me to supply the materials. I take that back. We have had one or two times that they don't ask me to supply the materials, but they'll ask for a discount on rents. And I will do that. I will never discount more than 50% of the rents. So I might spread it out over 2, 3, 4 months. And we'll have, by month 1, you have to have this stuff done in order to get the discount. Month 2, we spell it out of what has to be done for what amount of money off. I just don't like to do more than 50% because I don't like to train them that they're going to pay 0.
I just find this interesting. Now we're talking about mobile homes, but I don't know, Dion, what do you do when you turn your units, your apartment units? Do you make them crisp and clean and perfect?
No, mine are Class C, so I focus on functional and safe. I don't upgrade a bunch of things because it wouldn't generate any more rent and it wouldn't, create any more longevity. The things with my units that I use to keep turnover small is making sure that there's 2 bedrooms and a garage or more space, because more space equals more stuff, so less likely to move. And then I want a washer dryer hookup in each unit so people don't have to use shared laundry or a laundromat. My brother retired off of mobile homes. He has 10 paid off properties. He looks for one that literally looks like it's falling apart, and then he's kind of like a craftsman. The thing with mobile homes is once you learn how to fix that HVAC system or you learn how to fix that subfloor, they're all the same. So he'll learn a couple of skills that he's been able to just use over and over and over. And he has 10. They look really nice now compared to when he got them. But it sounds like Adrian has the time and the skill set to do that. I'm really lazy, so I buy places that are literally rent ready or already occupied. I actually prefer already occupied so that I don't have to do much rehab. And on turnovers, it's usually flooring and paint is probably my biggest expenses.
Good stuff. Anything else? What else is going on, guys? Anybody have anything they need help with? Anything?
I have one little thing.
Okay.
Anybody catch Bigger Pockets today?
No, but you were on it.
It came out today finally.
Yeah, drop
I've been
it.
waiting. Had the interview like 2 months ago. Well, a little over a month ago.
That's how we roll the same way. You should drop it if you can in the chat. What's the title of it? Something about being lazy, right?
That's actually, they call it that, the lazy man's way to retire early or something. Yeah, it's a great title.
Drop it in the chat so we can listen to that. Good stuff. If you guys haven't jumped on Bigger Pockets yet and you're thinking about getting into real estate investing, you want to check out Bigger Pockets as an awesome resource. Just, you'll thank us later if you don't know about Bigger Pockets. And then of course, don't forget about our own podcast, the Nuts and Bolts Real Estate, which you can find. We'll talk about that later. What else? Anybody else need any help? Anybody working on anything creative? Ian, what are you up to these days? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm still buying houses, renovating them. I posted one on Facebook the day before yesterday, and the day after I looked at, I had like over 60 messages.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, it was kind of one thing I have kind of looked into a different method of using that Facebook, because responding to all those people and then setting up the appointments, it's a lot of work. So what I think I'm gonna do is start doing like an open house. Usually you do an open house to sell it, but I think I'm gonna do like an open house for people who want to rent it. So instead of like doing a lot of, back and forth, they can just go to the house, view it, and if they want it, they'll take an application, kind of like what Adrian was doing with his trailers. Another.
You have an autoresponder on your Facebook though, right, Adrian?
Yeah, with the business page, you can have an auto respond, and we love it because we don't have to respond, but also it helps you prove that you're complying with fair housing, in my opinion, because everyone's getting the exact same response and exact same amount of time, no matter what race, color, gender, whatever is soon to be covered by fair housing. It's all done automatically. We can blame Facebook if it didn't happen automatically.
Yeah, let's blame Facebook for everything. Here you go.
I like to put
Can you
blame on
set up-
someone else, the government, Facebook, anyone else. I did my part.
Can you set up a Calendly link so that they just set up the appointments directly with you and you're not part of that?
I would assume so. I don't want to meet people because I like what Dion said. I'm lazy. So I don't want to meet people out there. And I've gotten burned a lot of meeting people. I used to do the cattle call or the open house. I did like that because it kind of still created a little urgency of needing to get the apps in. But I even got too lazy to do that. Like, I'm in Texas right now. My properties are in Florida. So we're still able to show them, even though I'm not at home. They don't know that I'm not in the state.
Nice.
But it doesn't, yeah, I'm sure you could do it and set it up for the hours you want to do it.
Is anybody else, what's everybody else up to? Does anybody have any financing questions? Kevin, what's up? You look like.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Julie. I'm getting ready. I want to specialize in short sales. Do you know anybody in the local Seattle area that you can connect me with?
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you need? Like a short sale negotiator?
No. I'm just beginning to learn that. That's something I want to specialize in.
Okay.
Pick somebody's brain or do some sweat equity for the business.
You think there's going to be a lot of short sales around here?
Long-term game, yes, my dear. Long-term game, yes. But I think the preparation is now. So I'm trying to anticipate skating where the puck is going to be instead of where it is now.
Gotcha. That's a good thing. Do we actually think that, over here in our Pacific Northwest area, people have a lot of equity, right, in their homes. I guess if you're buying right now in this frenzy, like if you're buying right now in February, March 2021, who knows what'll happen once the eviction thing unfolds, right? And there's maybe more inventory, but it sure seems like, go ahead, Keith says, or somebody says, I agree with you. Oh, you guys are having a chat on the side. Yeah,
I don't think there's going to be a lot of short sales going on. You hit the nail on the head, Julie. The clients that we're putting in houses right now with 3% down with FHA or what have you, those will be, if we do see a depreciating event, those would be the ones that would have an issue. The thing about it, coming out of any depression era, we've never seen a decline in home values following a depression or a recession. So to think that there's going to be downward pressure on housing prices after we come out of this COVID, I don't see it.
Hey, I have an idea for you, Kevin, and everybody else. What I do think is ramping up is bankruptcies. Bankruptcies are ramping up, right? And those people, if you can be a solution provider to people that are heading into bankruptcy, right? I somebody for you. We have Richard Symes with Symes Law Group that is a bankruptcy foreclosure expert, and he's also a short sale negotiator too. He happens to be on my team, right? If you're in VIP, with me, Richard is our in-house on-team attorney that specializes in, he's a bankruptcy, foreclosure, probate, estate attorney. Symes Law Group is his stuff. You can check him out. We did do a podcast with him about all that. We're getting ready to, I think we should do another podcast on bankruptcy, because I see that, Kevin, as being a message and tapping into that more so than the short sale talk. And it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Because before they go into a short sale, they're going to talk to a bankruptcy attorney. So by getting in front of it with the bankruptcy messaging and solutions and connecting them to somebody like Richard as part of your messaging, I believe is a better path to go down. But that's just me. We're just here to talk shop. What do you guys think?
What's going to spur bankruptcies?
People are racking up their credit card bills. People have job loss. People have, people, everybody outlives their means, right? You have one spouse lose a job, right? Next thing you know, that's, again, something we can talk to Richard and have him come on the podcast and talk about maybe things that he sees as catalysts. But I think it's credit cards, that people are overusing their credit cards. What do you think, Keith?
I haven't seen the data in the last year, but going into 2020, the American public was paying down their credit cards at a faster rate than any other time in history. So I don't know if that vets out. The one thing, going back to the short sale situation, is if you want to find a short sale, I would work with community credit unions and regional banks that have been extending 95% loan to value HELOCs. So the people that have tapped into their equity that now have that second mortgage, I think that's where you're going to see the short sales come from. So if you were going to target short sales, I would target the regional banks and the credit unions.
Julie, you bring up a good point. A lot of people don't know, when you look at the Great Recession in 2008, we have more aggregate consumer debt now than back during the Great Recession of 2008. A lot of times these credit card stats have come out that kind of indicate that the consumer is paying it down. A lot of this stuff is in forbearance. I mean, you got forbearances for credit cards, student loan, mortgages, utilities. So you're not really getting true stats on where the credit debt is. And like you said earlier, 1 or 2 disruptions in your income kind of turns everybody upside down. There's a lot of people doing, FHA and VA mortgages that have gotten those within the last year, and all of a sudden their income has been disrupted because of COVID. So if there's any type of market correction, either 5 or 10%, a lot of those people could potentially be upside down in their mortgage. So the consumer debt is a bubble.
So also, with that being said, on the forbearance, we went into, because we were in complete lockdown in this part of Washington for, we didn't know how long in real estate. So I put our house in forbearance. And so on the short sale part of this, they are getting that tacked on into their loans. So that will be giving them a short sale there as well. So if they haven't paid their mortgages for 12 to 15 months at $2,000 a month, that's almost $25,000, $30,000. And if they're already at 95% equity, so there may be a short sale in that respect, because almost everybody I know is not paying their mortgages right now.
Well, let's talk about that though. So they're tacking those on. Are they tacking, Keith, or whoever's lender in here, do you expect that those forbearance period non-payments are going to get tacked onto the back of the loans? But that's if somebody has a job, right? What if they don't have a job? Keith?
They don't have a job?
Well, I mean, you're going to have people in forbearance that maybe, their income went down. I mean, there's probably reasons why people have gone into forbearance, but what are the lenders going to do with this non-payment forbearance period?
So the non-payment forbearance period, the workout has nothing to do it has everything to do with who owns their mortgage, really quick, right?
Yeah.
So if it's Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, that there's mandates put forward by the CARES Act and what FHFA and the government's going to do with those workouts. And they can come in a true forbearance where you pay it all back and you settle the debt right there on the first payment. There's FHA is tacking on a second mortgage And they're taking that chunk of forbearance and putting it on the second lien position, right? To not trigger a default situation where it's triggering the mortgage insurance to pay, right? Fannie and Freddie, I've seen do a couple different things, and it's going to be servicer specific. So I've seen them do a couple things. Number one, if you were late for 6 months, they put you on a new graduated payment schedule for the next 6 months, or a graduated payment schedule for the next 12 months, right? To make up those payments. So you're in essence making double payments. I've also seen them just tack it on and do a remodification and a deferral to the end of your loan where they tack it on to the end, right? But you got to remember, even tacking it on to the end it's not causing a short sale situation, because that amount of interest was there anyways, right? So we're not tacking a bunch of stuff onto the back end. So it's just moving part of the mortgage from the middle of the mortgage to the end of the mortgage, which to me, you still have balanced numbers. We're not tacking on a bunch of huge fees and debts. Now, the situation where you have folks that don't have FHA or FHFA loans, that's 100% up to the institution that lended them money. They have no want, need, or desire to follow the CARES Act, right? So they could come back and say, if you're a local credit union and it wasn't securitized through any one of those outlets, you could say, no, forbearance says you got to owe it when you get out of your forbearance, right? And then you have late fees, then you have defaults, and then you have that. So it's not necessarily the Fannie Freddie FHA business that you should target. It's the non-Fannie Freddie FHA business that you should target.
Like the non-conforming, is that what you're saying, Keith? The non-QMs?
No, not necessarily non-QM. It's just that they didn't sell it to Fannie and Freddie. Like Bank of America, they underwrite to Fannie and Freddie's guidelines, but they hold on to the note. They don't sell the note to Fannie and Freddie. They don't securitize it, right? They just balance sheet lend it. Since Fannie and Freddie don't own it, they're not subject to follow CARES Act on any of that portfolio. Jumbo loans don't get securitized. They don't fall under CARES Act provisions. So however those institutions want to work those mortgages out, that's completely up to them.
I just know that when we sold our house in August, we paid our payments through the beginning of May, and they tacked on $8,000 to our payoff in 3 months.
I would have to see your payoff to dissect it and understand.
Yeah, and we were an FHA loan, so I don't know. It was just weird. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be in trouble. Just just depends on how many jobs come back.
Well, let me ask you this, Wendy. Were you a short sale?
No. Just
there's your answer to me. There's your answer.
We were within a couple thousand of being a short sale, but
yeah,
we were not.
Yeah, and I think that the most at jeopardy are the people that have in the last year or two purchased that house with 3% down.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now, I guess that's what I was trying to say, Keith, because we had our house 5 years, and in the Tri-Cities, it had gone up 150,000 in value. But if it hadn't, we would have been upside down $50,000.
So that's a leading question to, are we going to continue to see an appreciating market or a depreciating market?
Right.
Right. Exactly. So if we continue on our national crusade that we did 10% coast to coast last year, right? If you continue on that, I don't see a widespread event. And seeing all the data that says when we come out of recessions or depressions, we don't lose value in housing, I don't see where there's a market there. But that's just me. I mean, that's my one opinion looking at different data sets.
Julie, I think you made a great point. I understand what Keith is saying, but here's my point. Whenever this forbearance issue expires, and I'm not a technical guy, but right, you can look at the housing market and you've got credit and you've got income. If you restrict any one of those vows or both of those vows, it's going to have an adverse effect on housing. If people don't have jobs when the forbearance expires, that's going to be a negative cascading effect in the housing market. It will impact some markets greater than others, but it will definitely have a negative impact on housing because people don't have income. If you've been in forbearance and you get out of forbearance, the lender's probably going to require you to prove that you have sustainable, verifiable income. If you don't, that's going to push you down a different litigation path.
I honestly think that this is an uncharted territory because I don't think that I don't think in the history of real estate we've ever been able to be in forbearance for a year like this.
Never.
Never. And let alone the rent market, the renters haven't paid rent for 12 months, so there's the landlords that haven't been getting rent. I mean, I think lenders, realtors, attorneys, all of us that are in this industry are going to be learning a whole new aspect of real estate that we've never seen, even if we went through the crash of 2008. That's what I feel like. And Julie's right. We're going to have to be more advisors and be able to help these people more than we probably we've had to the last 15 years because of the hot markets we're in.
Yeah, and sometimes the best way to backdoor into a deal is to provide value as an advisor of whatever they need. I find like working with Richard, a lot of these people, or in order to see if they qualify for whatever their mortgage situation fix is going to be, they need to talk to a bankruptcy attorney as part of that, right? And if you're able to provide resources to people, it's almost like we need to go and build a kit that is that we offer people. This is all for lead generation and just being a good person and helping people in general, right? And it's like a service kit. And if you have the checklist of the things that are going to need to take people down the path to get out of their forbearance or whatever, then you're that resource. Now you've trusted them, right? So you don't talk to them about buying or selling their house. You say, you know what, first step for you is you need to talk to a bankruptcy attorney just to vet out your situation, right? And or something like that. It's a great topic for us to continue to talk about here each week as things continue to move around. Because Keith, income is going to come into play here, right? No matter what the solution is on these loans. But I like what you're also saying about, for those of you that pull your own lists, I mean, you can pull a list. I use PropStream for, list pull and all that stuff. I don't know what you guys use, but I can drill down and I can search for properties that have second loans on them, right?
Boom, there you go.
Right.
Second loans, bankruptcies with the liens, liens, judgments. I use all of those on PropStream, Julie. It's awesome. And
the other thing about PropStream is, I mean, literally what I do is I make the second loans, I make them like $50,000 or less, right? So somebody's just taking that last stab to get some money to float a little bit longer. So the second loans are not like 200,000, they're under 50,000 or something, you guys, right? You can put that in as a search parameter when you're using something like PropStream or something else to do your list pulls. I'm sure your title companies can help you with that as well. I just like, I like
PropStream too.
I love PropStream if you guys haven't checked that out yet.
I don't know if the title companies can do that anymore as far as pull in lien positions. I remember I asked one last year for lien positions and they couldn't provide that data anymore.
And it's yeah, I mean, definitely can do it with PropStream. So check it out if you guys.
I use IDI as well. IDI, so PropStream, I don't necessarily use PropStream just for skip tracing, but then I'll get my list from PropStream and give it to IDI and it works good. Those two systems together, they're awesome. IDI.
Can you drop it in the chat? Drop a link to it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got stuff? Any questions? Let me see if there's anything in the chat here. Chatbot baby. What's that up, Keith? Yep.
Yeah, chatbot. Ian,
Don't
get
forget
a chatbot, dude. You need to automatically reply to those. Send them down your funnel. Go take a funnel class, buddy.
I think what I'd rather do is, like I said, I'd rather just do an open house, and then that way, I have guys that work on. I have about 8 employees that work on my houses down there anyway, so I'll just, send them down there when there's someone working on the house anyways. So that'll save me from having to.
Your chatbot could say, here, click here to figure out when you can go look at the house, and then you can have a calendar scheduled on when the people are going to be at the house so they can go look at the house and you never have to touch it.
Yeah.
Build a funnel. Build a funnel.
What else,
Oh,
guys?
I did have a just some news. I don't know if you guys saw there was a ruling on the eviction moratorium. It was ruled unconstitutional. I don't know, you know, if there's going to be any challenges of that or whatnot, but you know, I thought that was something that was pretty big because I have a few people that aren't, you know, haven't paid rent since, you know, gosh, since probably July. So,
Why?
oh, they're just using that COVID thing for an excuse. You know, they're working. We found out one of them. He works at a hospital. He's been making like close to $3,000 a month. Never missed a day, and he still hasn't, you know, paid rent. So, so yeah, hopefully this eviction moratorium will end pretty soon. So
Be careful about that. The CDC moratorium was the one that was ruled unconstitutional, not the FHA moratorium. So the CDC is a completely different moratorium, and they already had to prove that they had tried to work it out with you to be able to avoid eviction. The FHA doesn't apply to most of us, I would say, because we don't necessarily use FHA-backed lending. So the CDC one was the one that prevented a lot of us from evicting if they followed the proper courses. And sometimes we've had to educate judges on why we can still do evictions. We don't have an FHA-backed loan. We gave them the opportunity to fill out the CDC information. They have not, and then sometimes we'll even have to go through a foreclosure, right? Because we sell everything on payments. So I don't need to evict, I need to foreclose, and then I can get them out that way. So just make sure that you understand which moratoriums are being overturned, because it does not change any of the state level moratoriums either.
yeah, I don't have any FHA loans, so.
Well, they're FHA or FHFA. So any Fannie Freddie FHA loan falls under that.
Any government-backed loan.
Good stuff. What else, guys?
To add to that, I mean, have you just?
Go ahead. You're the guest, Adrian.
Sorry, I think my internet's a little delayed. I was just going to add to that. I mean, have you just tried having a conversation with these tenants? I know that not all of them will have that conversation, but we had a few attempts to use the CDC as an excuse. And I just had a conversation with him and told him basically what Troy just said. And he decided not to turn the paperwork in, and he found the money. So it doesn't work all the time, but I think a conversation prevents a lot of these problems.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So I got two needs. I got my appraisal last week on my mobile home park. We've come in at a $1.3 million valuation. I see that my current lender is not on the Zoom call, so I'm looking for a new lender. I'm looking for $1 million note that will refinance my existing notes and give me an extra $200,000 for rehab to take the property to $3.5 million. So I'm looking for that. And then I'm also shopping. I'm shopping for new parks. So if you know of any large parks, 150 plus units that need a lot of rehab, I am now a proven and educated owner operator that has the team and the systems in place. So if you come across any, let me know.
Anywhere in the state of Washington?
I'll anywhere. 150 if it's out of state minimum. If it's in state, I really don't want to own in Washington. But
Washington?
I'll look at Tri-Cities, Spokane, Moses Lake.
That's where Wendy's at. She's in the Tri-Cities.
Yeah, I'll look at those, but cap rates are still so compressed in Washington State. I don't think it's worth it, but out of state, in state, I'll go down to like 75, but I don't want to dick around with small 30 unit mobile home parks.
Okay. What else, guys? Any news on the lending front, Keith, with interest rates? What's going on this week?
They went up.
Where are we at?
You're just over 30, you're just over 3% on a 30-year fixed on an owner occupied basis. So non-owner occupieds are getting back towards the fours, if not in fours if you're buying multifamily. So they're going up. It's still a good time to buy. You missed the trough. That's all.
But do you think if your back end paper thing gets solved that they'll come back down at all?
Well, the current administration has no problem with inflation, which is what's causing the interest rates to the treasury to go up. And so it all depends on how the Janet Yellen and the Fed want to play nice together and work in concert with each other, or if they're going to continue to butt heads. So if we continue to grow economically, which is good for the whole United States, rates should go back up, right? Rates should only be super depressed to the point that they were because we were in economic hardship. So, I hate to say it and admit it out loud, but mortgage rates boom, I get really busy when shit hits the fan, right? The flip side to that is, like I said, the administration's okay with letting inflation run rampant a little bit and kind of get outside the box. So long as that's the mentality, you're going to see that people are going to want higher yields when they're buying U.S. treasuries. So because they're fearing that rates are going to go up even further. So that's what's going on right now. Not a good situation for mortgage interest rates, but when we contextualize it and look at in 2018, we were selling 5% money on owner occupieds and high fives, low sixes in non-owner occupied world, it's still a great time.
Right on.
Are you seeing a decrease in number of buyers trying to get pre-approved because of the higher rates?
Hell no. So I literally, this is no joke, you guys. Today, while we've been sitting here on the call, I've taken 3 applications for people to get pre-approved. I think we're up to 16 applications, which is the most we've done this year so far in 1 week. I've got 16 applications for new home buyers.
Craziness.
Are you going to approve my nephew?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got that all taken care of. That was so last week. So, oh, hey, and Johanna, thank you. So this is the power of this group. And I just have to throw this out there. There was a guy that came through her open house, is not working with her. She referred me. He's with Bank of America, doesn't like what's going on over there. And I had a consultation with him yesterday and he's under contract and he's moving forward with me. And so that's the power of this. You remember Bruno?
Was that Bruno?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's the one that sent me the thank you thing, Julie.
Oh, good. Oh, there we go.
So, the power of the network is super, super important in adding value, just like Julie was saying. How are we adding value to everybody? Because that will pay off in huge numbers.
Right. What else? Anybody? We're running around down here, 12:23. I haven't taken a shower today, as you can tell. So I'm ready to get rolling. So
I really like today's conversation. I was curious. I was going to come in and ask you all about your crystal balls and say, what do you guys think this retail market's going to look like in a year or 2 years? Because we're thinking about just selling our house right now because I think we're close to the top of this bubble.
I'm actually getting calls from sellers that are saying the same, that their perception is that we're at the top and they want to cash out and wait for things to cool down and then they'll go buy. And this is people that they bought like 2 years ago that are calling me on this kind of thing, saying this, right? Problem is problem right now is there's nothing to buy, right? So my whole team, that's what we're working on, is solving the replacement property issue that we have, right? to get people moving. One thing that we're working on. So it'll be interesting. This is what I like about this is it's real time. We do this every week. It's like real time discussion of what's going on. So does anybody have anything, I just want to ask again, that they're like, you know, I feel like this is holding me back, or some piece of information that I wish I had about anything to do with your business or whatever, that we can do a deep dive on, not today, but follow up and get that information for you, right? We're trying to get Todd McKellips to come on. If any of you know Todd, nudge him. He can be shy sometimes on the podcast. There's Tiny Homes. We're going to do an infinite banking podcast coming up. Just like whatever you guys want to know about. We'll do a bankruptcy one. What do you got, Jai?
Just a quick thing I want to run by. I put in an offer this morning on a property that's up in Bellingham where I buy for student housing, and it's a super small house. I'm kind of looking at the long term of this. It's a 2-bedroom, like 700 square feet. I know it's not going to cash flow. I'm going to be losing at least $300-400 a month, but the property is a zoned urban village in that area, and I own the house right across the street from it, which Keith is helping me with a refinance on. And so I just want to get some thoughts, because I put in an offer and now I'm kind of thinking like, oh, did I just like, you know, this peak buying season, like, but it's a 7,000 square foot lot, which with urban village development, I can build up to 6 different houses on there in the future.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, that sounds good. Go ahead, Dion.
Question. So if you're buying it at a negative cash flow, do you have cash flow from other assets or from your job or something that's going to give you the revenue to get the loans to do the other build outs that's going to turn it into a good asset? Because that just sounds like when you're losing money, it sounds like it really slows you down, delays you, or stops you from ever actually being able to progress.
Yeah, so the funny thing is the property that I'm doing a refinance with Keith on, once this refinance hopefully goes through, whatever I'm losing in this current property that I'm pursuing, I would be making back because of what I'll be saving with the refinance. Because I bought that back when rates were like 5.5 or something like that. You know?
Right. So if you do the refinance, you increase your cash flow by the amount you'd be losing with the
yes.
new purchase.
So I'll be neutral.
Still makes the new purchase not sound like a good thing, unless you have some exit strategy or some change that you're going to do in the near future that would then turn it into another asset that's cash flowing.
I think he's land banking it for the development.
I'm only land banking it for the development. I'm not like my idea is to, because it's a huge yard in the front yard, I can, as soon as I get some money from my business and whatnot, I can potentially get the plans pre-approved and get working on at least doing like 2 or 3 units, building up 2 or 3 units.
Yeah. Right. It's the upside potential in the development that he's land banking. What's next door? What's surrounding it? Adjacent properties?
So it's all commercial. They call it a residential transition zone, which they want to make it so it's like the house that I have that I'm refinancing is right across the street, literally faces this house, and that's in a single family zone. So that side of the street is all going to be single family. This house is everything is going to be urban village and commercial. But right next to it is another single family house.
I mean, yeah, if you're able to secure the adjacent properties too at the same time, right? And think about something like that, door knock there. But I mean, I get what you're doing there. I don't know enough about that market to say whether it's a go, but you got to plan for your downside. So you're basically making a speculative, purchase there, but I would just plan for how are you going to sell it? If it doesn't work out or something goes down, right? Just protect your downside. you know, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, Adrian's like, I'm concerned with the negative cash flow. Go ahead, Adrian, say it.
I think my internet's back up doing well. I don't like the idea of the negative cash flow either, but maybe give away some of the upside to someone that can afford or even benefit from some losses. You can give them maybe an option, and then they have an option for a certain percentage of the upside in exchange for, you know, $100, $200 a month of the negative, so that you are breaking even and the other investor is putting some money in every month, but then they're really looking for the big upside.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. The only reason I would, because whenever I invest in that area next to the university, I look for cash flow, of course, first. But then the potential, like with the other houses that I have in the area, they're on big lots, but they're single family or it's a duplex or what have you. But this is the property that's like, hey, you can put, you know, when I'm able to, I'm okay taking a $200 loss or a $150 loss a month, if it's, you know, balanced out with my refi or what have you. You know, if I'm balancing out, I'm okay with it.
You know who
Just
does
for
buy
the
that, Jai? Exactly what you're saying is okay taking the loss because of the development upside or the potential is Adrian Chu. Do you know Adrian?
no, you mentioned him something about a podcast with him.
Yeah,
I think.
Adrian, you're in Seattle, right?
I'm in Seattle, yeah, but I invest in Bellingham.
Right. So the concept though of what you're talking about where you're willing to take a little bit of a cash flow loss because globally for you, you're not really in your global portfolio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is something that Adrian does to continue to invest in the Seattle market, which makes no sense. There's no cash flow here, right? But he invests, he has that mindset of what you're talking about. And that would be a very good person for you to call him and run it by him in regards to the concept. And he'll tell you the risks of that, right?
Okay.
And it just, if you just private message him off Facebook and say, hey, Julie Clark told me to reach out to you. I'm looking at a potential development project. And she said you'd be a good person to talk to. You don't have to tell him it's in Bellingham, but he'll respond. And just run the concept by him so he can tell you where he's gotten dinged, maybe with employing that concept, you know, on his end and before. But I do get what you're saying.
Adrian Chu, right? You said.
Adrian Chu, CHU.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
What else? Anything else before we wind it down?
This is for Darren. I rehabbed my house last year during COVID and sold it for top dollar. So now I'm living in one of my rentals. So just for your information.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking. We're going to downsize anyway, because the house is just way too big for us now that our kids are growing out, and it's worth a ton of more money than what we paid for it. So I'd like to kind of like put it in the bank and sit on it and maybe, you know, rent somewhere or just buy something small and then wait for our dream land to come available somewhere and buy it for something less than twice what it's worth.
That's a lot of people like that. Where's your house, Darren? So we can all pounce on you. Where's it at?
we're in Lake Ketchum. We got to do some remodeling, but yeah, we're thinking like in couple 1 or 2 months we'll be ready to start thinking about selling.
Where did you say that was?
Lake Ketchum in Stanwood.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, we were looking at this over on Camino. We swung by this $1.4 million house, and it's just on this road that it's crazy that people live there, but it's just on this road that goes down right by the water. And going, just a couple of years ago, it was worth 500,000. Now it's 1.4, and it's the exact same house. And I'm going, well, you know, if we're at the top of the bubble, maybe we get a house like that for 6 or 7 again in 2 or 3 years. I don't know. My crystal ball is really fuzzy, just like yours, but
Right. Well, what if you can't? What are you going to do if you can't? What if your theory doesn't work, where it doesn't go down? Because, you know, as much
Well,
as
then we still have the money in the bank. We just went to made more off of this one.
right, but now you got to go buy something else if you're going to buy. I'm talking to a lot of agents, and we've been talking about like, yeah, is it too crazy to buy right now? And a lot of agents are saying it's just going to get worse, right? It's just going to get worse as people are moving out of California. We still look like a deal. We still look like a deal here. So this past weekend, even I was looking at, I mean, it's crazy. There's so much money up here. I won't even tell you what I was looking at because it'll sound, but
Come on, bowler. Come on.
no, I'll leave that. We won't talk about that today, but thanks, Keith. But all right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up because I need to go take a shower, honestly. And anybody else, you guys can keep talking if you want, but we've been an hour so far.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, come back next week. Same.
You too, Joe. We appreciate you setting this up.
Thank you.
We love you, Julie and Joe.
You guys need any lenders? We got, who are the lenders on here? We got Alex. Did he hang up? We lose Alex already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We lost Alex. Okay, Alex is a hard money and loan with Certain Lending. Our sponsor, let me just say it, Certain Lending is our sponsor. If you guys need money for your rental properties, or you're looking at flips or BRRRRs, which is buy and hold, flip to holds, Certain Lending is where you want to check it out. They're national. Only a couple states they don't lend in. And then we got Keith Pitch here, our main man, Keith, who shows up and gives us all the goods on lending every week, conventional lending or non-QM, right? In fact, Keith, what do we got next week? My VIP, if you guys are with VIP, Keith's going to jump in with us, and we are going to do a special session on what? Asset depletion loans and that special non-QM loan, right?
Yep, asset depletion, debt service coverage ratio, all that good stuff.
Right, because there are a lot of people out there that they might not have income and they need to know what their options are. They might have assets, you know, or something like that, that they could get their bridge loan or get some type of loan to buy temporary loan to buy their next place before they sell their place and pay off in cash and things like that. So we want to know what the non-income loans are that are available today when we're bouncing around with these people having trouble, right? Because sometimes some people might have one spouse that lost a job or had to take a haircut on their pay. And we need to know what the options are to provide value, which is what we're talking about. We just want to be able to provide value to everybody, no matter what the situation is, because when you do that, they come back to you when they're ready, right? So awesome stuff. We'll see you on Tuesday, Keith. All right, guys, over and out. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Ciao, ciao.